If even your own mother packs her bags and leaves, let's be clear, this isn't just family drama. This is a Netflix script waiting to be filmed. For years, Meghan Markle has spun herself in couture gowns, multi-million-dollar PR strategies, and a carefully curated Duchess Survivor brand. But behind the silk curtains of Montecito, the real backbone of the Sussex household wasn't Meghan, wasn't Harry, and certainly wasn't the revolving door of nannies. It was one woman, Doria Ragland. Forget the fairy tale image of grandma dropping by with cookies and bedtime stories. Doria wasn't a visitor. She was the unpaid full-time nanny therapist, referee, and emotional sponge. Day after day, night after night, she changed diapers, managed toddler tantrums, and soothed grown-up meltdowns too because, let's face it, Meghan's moods and Harry's dependence weren't exactly light work. What was supposed to be a grandmother's occasional support turned into a full-time job, minus the paycheck, minus the vacation, minus the gratitude, minus the... Meanwhile, staff came and went like guest stars in a bad soap opera. One nanny gone after a few weeks, another storming out after clashing with Meghan's vision, and yet another fleeing before the credits even rolled. But through every dramatic exit, there was Doria, the cement, holding up a crumbling mansion, patching the cracks before the whole royal Hollywood fantasy collapsed. Until one day, the cracks spread too far. The unsung hero quietly zipped up her suitcase. Meghan, suddenly stripped of her safety net, reportedly screamed like a desperate lead in a daytime melodrama. "Don't leave me! Don't leave me!" But real life isn't scripted, and this wasn't a rehearsal. Friends can fade, staff can quit, PR can spin, but when even your own mother walks out, that's not bad luck. That's the truth catching up. Picture the scene: a Montecito duchess, once untouchable in glossy magazine spreads, reduced to begging in her own foyer while her mother, the woman who had carried the family for years, decided she was done playing nanny, done playing therapist, done being taken for granted. And the sound of that rolling suitcase wasn't just luggage leaving the house, it was the sound of reality breaking through the fairy tale. Because here's the brutal irony: Meghan may have built a global brand on control, resilience, and survival, but the person who actually held everything together, the one figure the children leaned on, the one constant through years of chaos, has now walked away. And with Doria gone, the question isn't whether Meghan can keep the cameras on her, it's whether she can keep her family from falling apart without the only person who ever truly kept it together. But the truth doesn't stop there. Because if you thought Meghan's mother walking out was the first crack in the picture-perfect facade, you're mistaken. The chaos inside Casa Sussex has been brewing for years, and it started with the infamous 3 nannies in 6 weeks disaster. Yes, you heard that right. 3 different trained professional childcare experts gone before the ink was dry on their NDAs. One said the hours were impossible, another didn't fit Meghan's vision, a third simply vanished, swallowed by the Montecito Bermuda Triangle of household staff. Here's the thing: most people struggle to keep a houseplant alive for 6 weeks. Meghan and Harry couldn't even keep a nanny. That's not bad luck, that's a pattern. And every time the carousel spun, who was left standing when the music stopped? Doria. While Meghan was flying out for red carpets and Harry was scribbling his memoir, Grandma was the one picking up the pieces, making sure Archie had a bedtime, and Lilibet got breakfast. Let's be brutally honest, this wasn't a calm suburban family life. These kids weren't growing up with quiet streets and friendly neighbors. They were growing up in a pressure cooker of Netflix deadlines, Oprah interviews, royal feuds, and paparazzi helicopters. Every toddler tantrum came with a PR crisis attached. Imagine being a nanny in that house. You're not just wiping noses, you're ducking flying headlines. And Meghan, instead of easing the pressure, insiders say she added to it. Complaints about the staff, complaints about Harry, complaints about the media, the deals, the house, the unfairness of it all. It was a constant loop of grievances. For the nannies, there was always an exit. Resign, sign your NDA, and leave Montecito in the rearview mirror. But for Doria, there was no off-ramp. She couldn't quit being Meghan's mother. So while the professionals bailed out faster than contestants on a reality show, Doria stayed. She became the unofficial 4th nanny, except this one didn't have the luxury of handing in a resignation letter. She was trapped by loyalty, by love, and by the simple fact that her grandchildren needed her when their parents couldn't keep childcare stable for longer than a season. It's no wonder whispers began circling in staffing agencies. Potential hires were warned in hushed tones. Do you know who you'll really be working for? That's not normal procedure. That's survival instinct. In Meghan's world, looking after the children wasn't just childcare. It was crisis management, emotional babysitting, and surviving the endless contradictions of a boss who wanted control, but not responsibility. And while the nannies escaped, Doria endured. Until now. Because when even the strongest fallback finally walks away, the pattern can no longer be hidden. It's exposed raw and undeniable. All eyes were on them, and not the paparazzi cameras this time, but the invisible gaze of a household slowly cracking under its own weight. Doria Ragland had been the quiet soldier holding the line day after day, year after year. Midnight feeds, toddler meltdowns, school routines, emotional triage for both Meghan and Harry. She absorbed it all without complaint. But even the strongest shoulders eventually buckle when the weight never lessens. At first, she justified it. Meghan had been through a lot, she told herself. The move from royal life to California, the media storms, the endless scrutiny. Every mother makes excuses for their child, right? But what started as understanding soon morphed into realization. This wasn't stress. This was a pattern. Meghan wasn't just overwhelmed, she was never satisfied. No amount of help, no number of staff, no loyalty was enough to silence the constant nitpicking. And then came the unthinkable. According to insiders, Meghan even began criticizing her own mother's parenting. Imagine that, the woman who had given up her peace, her career, her independence to raise Archie and Lilibet being told she wasn't doing it right. That wasn't stress speaking. That was entitlement, sharp and cutting. And for Doria, it was the final straw. The atmosphere grew heavier by the day. Each sigh from Meghan, each complaint about staff, each little correction layered on top of years of sacrifice. It wasn't a single explosion that broke her. It was death by 1,000 cuts. The quiet realization that she wasn't seen as a mother helping from love, but as a live-in crutch to be leaned on endlessly. This was not what grandmothers sign up for. Grandmothers bring cookies, laughter, surprise visits. They don't become unpaid nannies, trapped in a cycle of emotional babysitting for both children and adults. But in Montecito, Doria had been cast in exactly that role. And when Meghan's criticism pierced even that last sanctuary, questioning the way she handled her own grandchildren, something inside her snapped. No shouting match, no tabloid-worthy scene, just a quiet, devastating choice enough. Enough of being taken for granted, enough of endless sacrifice without recognition, enough of being the glue in a house that refused to hold itself together. And so after years of silence, Doria did what no assistant, no nanny, no advisor ever dared to do. She walked away. Not in rage, not in drama, but in weary, heartbreaking finality. The tension didn't explode into fire and fury. It imploded into silence. And in that silence, the truth was deafening. Even a mother's love has limits. Meanwhile, on the other side of town, the Sussex household had its own subplot unfolding, one that could easily double as a reality TV show. While Doria was quietly packing her dignity, another figure in the royal circus was reaching her breaking point, the one nanny who had actually lasted. 5 years of service, 5 years of tantrums, bottle feeds, and bedtime battles in Montecito's most unpredictable mansion. By Sussex standards, that wasn't just loyalty, it was sainthood. But even saints have limits. For years, this nanny had been angling for a promotion, desperate to transition into a proper house manager role. After all, surviving half a decade in Meghan's orbit should come with hazard pay and a corner office. Yet every time she was about to step up, another nanny would quit. Another assistant would vanish. And like clockwork, she'd be dragged back into the nursery bottle in hand, babysitting not just Archie and Lilibet, but the entire chaos of Montecito. And here's where the story takes a turn from tragic to downright absurd. Because in Meghan's world, hiring a nanny isn't a simple process of checking references. Oh no. According to insiders, it's more like auditioning for America's Got Talent. Step 1, an interview with the agency. Step 2, another interview with one of Meghan's assistants. Step 3, the grand audition in front of Meghan and Harry themselves. And here's the kicker. Agencies are reportedly told not to reveal who the clients are. Candidates are expected to walk in feigned shock and act like they had no idea they were auditioning to raise royal children. Imagine that for a moment. You're applying for a nanny position and the recruiter warns you in hushed tones about the boss before you've even met her. That's not childcare, that's survival prep. And once you finally make it to the final round, Meghan sits like a panel judge scrutinizing every word, every smile, every nervous laugh. Can you handle the moaning? Can you survive the contradictions? Can you endure a boss who doesn't want to do the work herself, but can't let anyone else fully take over? No wonder the turnover rate looks like a revolving door in Fast Forward. Most candidates don't last long after their debut performance. The stress eats them alive, which is precisely why the 5-year nanny became such an anomaly. She stayed. She endured. She adapted. But even she reportedly is done waiting. Enough of being promised a promotion that never comes. Enough of being shoved back into the nursery whenever another casualty quits. And as Meghan continues to praise her wonderful nanny in interviews, the reality behind closed doors is far less glowing. Because the truth is, this isn't a career anymore. It's limbo. And no one, not even the most loyal, wants to spend a lifetime trapped in Meghan's never-ending audition. This is the moment everyone held their breath. Doria Ragland, the quiet anchor who had carried the Sussex household for years, was gone. No more midnight feeds, no more babysitting both children and adults, no more patching up the chaos. Meghan, who once screamed, "Don't leave me, don't leave me," as her mother wheeled away, her suitcase was suddenly left exposed. And Harry the Prince, who had leaned so heavily on his mother-in-law's calm presence, now found himself adrift. So here's the question. No one in their circle dares to say out loud who actually raised Archie and Lilibet. Was it Meghan, forever caught between Hollywood contracts, Netflix scripts, and global interviews about her struggles? Was it Harry smiling on camera, but reportedly detached behind closed doors? Or was it the revolving carousel of nannies who came and went before the children even learned their names? The truth, as painful as it is, has only one answer. It was Doria. For years, she was the constant. She cooked the meals, read the bedtime stories, and shielded the children from the chaos their parents created. And what was her reward? Criticism. Exhaustion. Being taken for granted until she could no longer bear it. Even worse, whispers say Meghan began to resent how naturally her children gravitated toward their grandmother. Every scraped knee, every cuddle, every bedtime lullaby, the kids went to Doria first. Meghan, the mother, was left fearing she wasn't the favorite, and nothing stings more than being overshadowed in your own children's lives. But the tragedy doesn't stop there. Harry, once determined not to repeat his father's cold detachment, reportedly fell into the very pattern he swore he'd break. Instead of stepping up, he drifted. When Meghan spiraled, Doria was called in. When the children needed stability, Doria was there. Harry became, in the harshest interpretation, just another dependent clinging to his mother-in-law, instead of standing as the father his children deserved. And now she's gone, walked away not in fury, but in the silence of someone who was given everything and received nothing in return. That silence is louder than any interview Meghan could ever give. It says more than any PR statement, more than any Netflix documentary. It says, enough. The empire Meghan and Harry built depends on image, the happy, resilient modern family. But with Doria gone, the cracks are no longer hidden. They're gaping. And the brutal irony is this: Meghan may have lost more than just a helper. She may have lost the one person who kept the illusion from collapsing entirely. Because if even your own mother can't stand to live under your roof, then who will?